A poor female college student had fallen for the wealthy young man who sponsored her education. But little did she know, he already had a moonlight sweetheart, a woman from an equally privileged background, perfectly matched for him. So the student buried her feelings deep in her heart, never daring to reveal them. Then tragedy struck. The young man was in a terrible car accident. He lost both his legs, and his moonlight sweetheart left him the second she heard the news. Unable to watch the man she loved spiral into despair and agony, the student stepped in. She wrestled the knife he was using to harm himself out of his hand and comforted him, telling him, "You haven't been abandoned by the whole world." The young man was stunned by her courage, and over the next 3 years, as she cared for him tenderly and helped him with his recovery, he miraculously regained the ability to walk. For those 3 years, they'd relied on each other, never apart. Their friends would tease them, asking if a wedding was on the horizon, but the young man would just brush it off, saying, "I only see her as a little sister." The student's heart shattered at his words, but she forced a smile and gave him a gift to celebrate his full recovery. That's when his moonlight sweetheart suddenly reappeared, also bearing a recovery gift, only to be met with cold jokes and eye rolls from their friends. Pretending to be hurt and embarrassed, she set the gift down and turned to leave, until the young man grabbed her hand. He indulgently pulled her to sit beside him, then poured her a glass of wine with careful attention, completely ignoring the student sitting nearby. Their friends shook their heads, thinking he was blind to what was right in front of him. Later, during a game, they decided to tease the moonlight sweetheart by asking her to go to the next booth and get a stranger's contact info. But the young man couldn't stand to see her even slightly wronged. When he saw someone hit on her, he flew into a rage and got into a fight with the guy. Worried about his still fragile body, the student tried to pull him back and remind him to take it easy, but in his anger, he shoved her hard. Her head hit the edge of the table with a thud. When she came to, she saw him had saved the day and was carrying his moonlight sweetheart out of the room in front of everyone. Memories flooded back, all the times he'd been tortured by pain, breaking down and begging her not to leave him. But now, it was clear. He didn't need her anymore. Just then, his mother called. The woman spoke in veiled terms, hinting that the student and her son were from different worlds, and the student understood immediately. She told his mother, "I'll leave him soon." After that, she went to the hospital alone to treat the cut on her forehead. Then she applied for a student visa, planning to go abroad for further studies once it came through. The young man knew nothing about her plans. He still took her care for granted, as if it were his right. One day he got a stomachache. Out of habit, he called her to bring him medicine. She went to his company, but as soon as she stepped out of the elevator, she ran into his moonlight sweetheart. The woman walked ahead into his office first, then proudly presented him with a spicy hot pot she'd made. The student couldn't help but remind him, "You can't eat spicy food."